Hi everybody, I'm Rebecca Virginia, and today I'll be showing you 5 brand new fall Dollar Tree DIYs. Let's get started. I have a lot of pumpkin and pumpkin spice theme DIYs coming up in this video, so I wanted to start it all off with a little bit more of a simple and traditional fall DIY. We are going to be decorating this acorn sign from the Dollar Tree. It's very cute as is. I really like the buffalo check on top, but of course we're going to give it a makeover. So I started off by just painting the entire sign white. I used a sample of paint that I picked up at Home Depot, and I'm going to be leaving the bottom area white, and then I created this acorn top stencil. I literally just put into Google acorn top, and this is what I found. You could, of course, you don't need to do a stencil, you could freehand this, but I'm not the most amazing painter in the world, so I've been having a lot of fun with stencils. In my last video, I had a couple of free printables and stencils for all of you, so I had fun creating this stencil here. I will have a link below. I'll go ahead and pop it into Canva in case any of you are interested in making this. And before I went in with paint, I am taking a very, very light layer of Mod Podge, and I'm placing that. It really helped. You'll be able to see when I peel this stencil off. It really, really helps the paint stay where it's supposed to and not bleed out into the areas that we don't want it to. I don't want the top of the acorn to just be one flat color, so I'm going in with one of the sponges from Dollar Tree, and I'm really lightly dabbing. I went in with Territorial Beige from Apple Barrel, Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel, and I'm just kind of creating lots of different shading and going all over the top of the acorn, really going that traditional kind of stamping, sponging method. Rather than just like smearing the paint on, I find that when you kind of sponge and stamp, you're able to build up layers and create a little bit more dimension in your painting. Once that had fully dried, I very carefully and very slowly peeled back the stencil because I was working with layering paint. Sometimes if you pull it a little bit too fast or too hard, it will pull up pieces of like where that white is. So I definitely didn't want to do that, and I was really happy with how this came out. The Mod Podge method was definitely working, so I was happy with that. I also have this Hello Fall image. I will place this in the same Canva link that I will do the acorn top, and I'll also link it for those of you who have a Cricut. Thank you to an amazing subscriber who let me know that you can actually share designs from Cricut. So I will go ahead and share the link to my design space for this Hello Fall image as well, in case you want to recreate this DIY or use it on your own. Then, of course, I had to make it a bit more farmhouse and dirty it up a bit, so I grabbed some dark brown paint and a chip brush to just kind of distress it on. For the bow, I was so excited. I actually picked up this ribbon last year, so it was finally time to use it. And I'm going to show you how to make a large bow. So you are going to cinch a small circle in the center, then create the bow part on the right side. And then you're going to create the bow part on the left side, all the while pinching down in the center. And this was great because it was wired ribbon, so it was really easy to kind of play with, and we'll be shaping it all up later. Then you're just going to continue on placing the ribbon on one side and then the other. Basically, you're pretty much folding the ribbon. And each time we're going to be getting a little bit larger. So you see this is now going to be my third bow section on the right side, and it's larger than the previous two. Again, all the while you are pinching it down into the center. And right now it's not the prettiest, but don't worry, we're going to shape it up. So I cut that piece off, and then we need to make a tail. So I'm gonna let that go for a second. Again, you can really see that you kind of just fold it back and forth, back and forth. And I'm going to cut off a long tail to be the tail of our bow. I'm then taking a zip tie to attach the bow to the tail. You'll just cinch everything in the middle and pull the zip tie tight. And now that everything is secure is really when you can kind of play around with the bow, especially because it does have the wire in it. So you're able to kind of like pull them around and make them all not super uniform, which is how it was in the beginning. Then once I had my bow all figured out, I did later attach it with a little bit of hot glue. And to turn this back into a hanging sign, I just took a little bit of jute and tied it at the top to create a natural hanger. Next up, we are turning our focus back to pumpkins, the pinnacle of any fall DIY. And I ended up taking 3 of the wood pumpkins that the Dollar Tree sells. They are very glittery. They have some glittery word sayings, but I got rid of this by sanding the glitter off and covering them with a white primer paint. No surprise here, was back into the stencils. I will of course have these all linked down below. I will have them up in Canva for all of you to use if you would like to. And I'm using pretty much the same method. So I laid down my stencil onto my wood pumpkins, and I first went in with just a very light amount of Mod Podge over the stencil to, again, just ensure that I don't have any paint seeping through. And then for this one, I wanted it to have more of a distressed look. So I am going in with that sponge again, but instead of really coating all of the words, I'm just lightly dabbing so that it kind of has that natural distressed look without me having to do that with, a piece of sandpaper. Now we're going to create the little bows that are going to go on top of these pumpkins, and the main base is going to be some of this burlap ribbon. I love burlap. It just screams fall and hayride to me. And I did fray the edges of the burlap. I really like the effect that that gives. Then I went in with some of this orange buffalo check ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It's so pretty. I have got to pick up another spool next time I see it. And to kind of finish this look off and to tie the buffalo check and burlap together, I took, no surprise here, some of my beloved jute, but to give it a little bit more of that kind of farmhouse fall look. Once I had tied the ribbons onto the stems of the wood pumpkins, I did fray the jute a little bit just by unwinding it. The jute is kind of spun together, so when you just kind of spin it apart, it has almost like a crimped look to it. If you're able to find the chicken wire ribbon at your Dollar Tree, I also think that would be an adorable addition to add some bunny ears to these ribbons. Next up, we're going to make this overflowing pumpkin spice candle. I was inspired by the butterbeer that they drink during the fall, it always seems, in Harry Potter. So I had a lot of fun creating this candle out of some Dollar Tree supplies. So first up, I grabbed this little glass. I think it was marketed as a salt shaker, but you could put pepper in it too. But it's from the Dollar Tree, and I found it in the kitchen section. And then I placed down some parchment paper and a wick from an old candle inside. Note to everyone watching, you're going to need more parchment paper than what I had. Then to melt the candles, I just placed them on very low heat in a pot of water, and I very slowly over time melt these. It takes about an hour. Just when you melt them nice and slow, you don't have to worry about any bubbles forming. So this one was pretty good, and you'll kind of see. I did this one well, but then my overflowing got a little too overflowing. Now, these candles are ones that I have just had around the house for a while, so that's why I'm using them. But the Dollar Tree also sells candles, and this candle's really more for show, not for actual scent. I know the Dollar Tree candles don't throw a lot of scent. And here comes the big overflow. I did not put down enough parchment paper. I did want the overflow look, but not quite that much overflow. So I went in with that kind of orangey color, and then to create the foam on top, I went in with some white wax, and then I placed down a little cinnamon stick in there. It's a simple DIY, but I think really cute and fun displayed around the house, especially of course for the fall season. It just gave me the Harry Potter vibes. Now I am moving on to the sign, which was behind our little faux butter beer candle, and that is pumpkin spice is my favorite season. This is an SVG. I will go ahead and put this on Canva for all of you if you want to print it out. And then again, if you're Cricut users, I'll have that link down below too. But mostly this DIY was just because I was so impressed with this wood sign. I've seen similar ones, but honestly not as nice at Target for $3 and $5. I thought this was amazing. amazing deal for $1.25. It's a gorgeous sign. I thought I was in the Dollar Tree Plus section, but I was not. Check out your crafter square. I couldn't feature pumpkin spice in a video without using one of these adorable mug cutouts from the Dollar Tree. They're so cute, and I've had them hanging around since last year with so many ideas for what to do with them. But per usual, the season kind of gets ahead of me, but I was determined to use them this year. So I wanted to incorporate a little bit more of the blue into fall decor. I also did a blue pumpkin in last week's video. I've really been enjoying the introduction of kind of non-traditional fall colors in fall decor. Then to create the little whipped cream on top, I just went in with some white paint. It would also be really cute if you used the spackling and kind of painted it on like icing from the Dollar Tree. And then I went in with some real cinnamon, but you could always use some brown crayon shavings as well. For the background in our little wood frame from the Dollar Tree, I was kind of bummed because in the past you were able to just pop it out and put in, you know, your new image, but there wasn't that option in this one, so I just kind of had to stick it down inside the frame. I also came up with a bunch of free fall printables for all of you, so I'm going to be using this fall printable that I came up with. Again, I will have it linked down below for you all to use. And then I really liked these rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree. I picked them up about a week ago, so I was excited to use them. So I went ahead and rubbed that down to transfer it onto our little blue pumpkin spice mug. To give a little bit more shape to this DIY and have the mug appear that it's a little bit closer to you, I placed down a tumbling tower block from the Dollar Tree or a Jenga block, and that kind of gave me that dimension that I was desiring. Thanks so much for watching. Next week, I am coming out with brand new Halloween DIYs. I have some creepy gothic ones and some really cute ones for kids. So please tune in next week. I put a lot of work into this video. There are so many brand new DIYs that I cannot wait to share with you. Until then, keep searching, keep creating.